Hey, welcome back to TwoSun Tuesday. Today I have a very new knife from TwoSun here. This is a TS412. This is a Jelly Jerry design. Looks fairly similar. Hold on a second. Yeah, to a six leaf knife that came out right around the same kind of time here. This one is still very different, but looks wise, they're kind of cousins. We'll go ahead and call it that. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this guy a little bit here. Like I said earlier, it's a Jelly Jerry design. This one looks like it has a bit of construction, kind of like the Matrix, only both sides are symmetrical in the handle department here. And we have Micarta and Micarta. Let's see, the top portion of the Micarta, unless you're Yeah, it's not going to look like your standard micarta. This is basically a paper micarta. I don't think it's going to be a name brand like Rich Light or Corian or something like that. But it is a paper micarta, and they've dyed it red, and actually took the dye really well. And this other stuff down here is kind of their highly compressed stuff that I've kind of spoken rather highly of in the past. And it works out pretty good here. The pocket clip does kind of bother me in a little bit because it does have basically just one attachment point here, even though it looks large enough to have more. Maybe unless I screw that up or something like that. I'm pretty sure that was the case. So there's a lot of stuff to love about this knife. It's huge for one. I'm talking 3.8-inch blade or 96.6 millimeters. So this is definitely a full-size mamma jamma. It also weighs 6.12 ounces or like 173.5 grams. So yeah, it's weighty. That's okay. 0.60 inch for the handles scales here. They are contoured, not incredibly much, but they are. And we got a 3.9 millimeter blade stock thickness on here. Might look a little bit thinner because it does have a bit of a swedge kind of going all the way up the top there. So it does look a little bit thinner just from the top down, but this is still fairly thick blade. Still, incredibly tall blade. It's D2 blade steel. We have an amazing geometry. This thing is a dream to cut with. And luckily, the blade is tucked nicely in there. No chance of a snaggletooth whatsoever. We got a nice back spacer. Doesn't go all the way out towards the tip there, but that tip is completely safe. There's no way you're getting to that, so that's also really good. The flipper works, but you can also thumb flick it out there, which is a little weird, I think, for me, but it works. And very easily reverse flicked here. We have a titanium, we'll go ahead and call that a subframe lock. I might have called it a bolster lock or something like that, but we also have portions of this carved out for the inlay there, so it is a little bit thinner than it might look just from there. Lockup's pretty darn decent. We got great access to the lock bar, super easy to deal with that. Starts to interact with the detent ramp right around here. So once it's actually touching your thumb, it's over it. And because this thing has a heavy enough blade, there you go. It drops shut pretty darn easily here. I did mention the ergonomics for this guy, especially if you are into that hammer grip, just muscling through cuts. Fantastic. The jimping on the spine of the blade is just where I'd want it, so that's all sorts of good. It's a nice, really tall drop point, so you still have nice access to that point. Maybe not the absolute easiest to get to the tip down onto a cutting board or something like that if you're trying to do a utility cut, but it's the same with basically any kind of drop point. And of course, you can easily choke out to do a lot of that work. Ends up working out quite well. The pocket clip ends up doing all right. Maybe a little bit stiff, but we do have a nice ramp for it here. It's not just a single point. So yeah, I guess for some negatives, and there are unfortunately some of those, and a lot of it is not design-wise. I will go ahead and state that design-wise of the knife, outside of the single screw point into the pocket clip, that's the only kind of design niggle that I would have with it. But for some other things here, yeah, it does have the flat call-out pivot collar. Some people don't like that, so for those, I don't care. At this point, if you like something or not. Another thing that happened to mine is that we do have an internal blade stop pin here. However, mine is not perfectly attached to it, as we can see here. It's staying put, but if it did get fairly loose or something like that, it's still fairly captive, even though it comes out a little bit from the handle there. But that is annoying. I haven't really seen that happen on basically any knife with an internal stop pin. I know that it can happen, but this is the first time I've actually seen one of them happen. And I debated for a while whether or not I would contact guys on eBay to see if I couldn't get a replacement, but ultimately decided against it because, well, I could probably deal with and or fix some of that sort of stuff, and also kind of wanted to report on it as well. So because, well, I guess rather recently I've had a couple of funky kinds of issues, just quality control issue kind of things going on there. But overall, yeah, this design is great if you're looking for a big honking knife. This thing is also incredibly comfortable if you want to use that reverse grip for some, more pokey defense scenarios and stuff like that. Very comfortable there on the back for being able to cap your thumb around there for maximum leverage and not having the knife slip. But of course, we also have that flipper tab that would stop you from doing that, and it does not dig into your hands no matter what going on there. We do have kind of a gradual plunge grind. It basically ends right at that heel of the blade, as we can see there. So it could have maybe been a little bit better, but overall, I'm not really bothered by it. Didn't really end up putting a smile on the blade. You might after a few sharpenings or so, but it's not the end of any particular worlds here. No weight relieving milling going on the inside here. Makes sense as we have inlays on the outside there. There's no real sense in doing that. So yeah, for the most part, with this particular design, absolutely love it. This thing is put together a little bit differently, and we are definitely going to go ahead and take this guy apart. Yeah, sorry. Just staring at some notes and stuff like that, seeing if there was anything that I was missing. But no, I basically covered it. We got paper and standard high thread counts. Kind of micarta. This stuff does remind me of some of the stuff that Kaiser ends up using. This is probably a little bit more name brand American manufactured stuff, but this is very, very close to it. So really do like to see that on some models and stuff like that. But, alrighty. With all of that being said, I do want to take this guy apart and kind of show some things going on here with it. And the first things you can see is that because that pocket clip isn't mounted through that way, I can't actually come in from this side first. I do have to come in from this side to be able to deal with some stuff. We at least do have T8s all the way around here. it's going to be screw there on the other side. These small ones for the micarta scales, that's perfectly fine. And then this has, yeah, the Chicago screw there. Alrighty. See, there's that. That's not really going to help me out a whole lot. Oh, where's my little pry thingy here? That will help out a little bit. Yeah. Certainly won't until I actually get the pivot screw out there. There we go. At that point, we got everything that kind of popped out. There we go. There's the screw that's going on into that pocket clip there. However, this thing on mine in particular is absolutely not moving ever. It's seized up in there. I don't think they used any kind of thread locker or anything on there. It's just straight up seized. And that's happened on one or two other TwoSun knives, mostly into a pocket clip in which, yeah, the titanium itself is threaded. It was probably over tightened or something like that in the factory. But I fought with this thing a lot, even including using an impact screwdriver, and that thing is not moving. So yeah, I can kind of twist the micarta around a little bit with it, but of course it is held in place perfectly fine. And yeah, we can see the deep pockets that are cut out. Same thing going on this side in particular. But yeah, let's see. And yeah, there's the that blade pin there. Now it does have yeah, we can see it does have jimping and sort of stuff to friction hold on to it and stuff like that. And it does a decent job. It's not going to fall out, moving around the track or anything like that, but it's still a little annoying to end up seeing stuff like that. So yeah, there was a couple of things that I wanted to cover overall, just about the maybe fit and finish or kind of lack thereof on this one in particular. Looks like I got a little bit of schmutz along with the rest of my stuff going on in here. But that's alright. Overall, still really do like the knife. I suppose with that screw being so seized up in there, it might end up actually helping a little bit with preventing the pocket clip from kind of rotating or something like that. But as you can see, rotating it's not through the micarta into the titanium. It's just inset into the micarta, which generally not an enormous fan of. But still fairly easy to deal with. Still, if you're not familiar with this particular paper micarta kind of material, you might think it's some sort of strange plastic or something like that. Well, I guess it technically is, just like G10 is technically a synthetic plastic kind of material. But yes, overall, there we go. Let's see. I ended up putting some, or actually, no, this stuff did come from the factory with a little bit of thread locker. It is blue thread locker. So it's, it wasn't any difficulty trying to get into actually disassemble anything going on with the knife there. But yes, this thing is just a little bit different to put back together. Alrighty, this is the longer screw, and because it's not just holding the scales on there, so I can pop that guy back on. Then yeah, these stubbier screws, which I still appreciate that they are T8s and not T6s. But yeah, they just pop on just the same. So make sure that that guy's mounted up correctly. Alright, yep, there we go. Back together, all sorts of nice and centered. Yep. Super great. So, yeah, all in all, I think my conclusion is I really, really do like the design. Mine in particular has some quality control problems, which is unfortunate. That's something I've seen from a couple TwoSuns, but then again, I also own well over 200 of them, and I'm only seeing them in a couple. So yeah, there it is. Whether you buy it from retail, they can end up taking care of you, or if you buy it from eBay, you can contact the seller and probably get that swapped out, unless for whatever reason the particular knife you won an auction for was the last one in stock or something like that. Which for most people I would absolutely suggest doing. For me, I could put probably a little bit of permanent thread locker on those little jimping sort of areas, put it back in that place. But with that being the stop pin, I am worried about just overall being jostled and stuff like that, ending up making that not a permanent fix. But yeah, like I said, excuse me, if you do end up having any kind of quality control checks or something like that, definitely get a hold of the company for it. I didn't, basically, so I could do a little bit of this reporting, and it's not absolutely egregious. It doesn't affect the actual functionality of the knife, just a lot of little nuanced stuff that I wish was a little bit better. Well, there we go. There's the quite new TS412 from Jelly Jerry. As far as I know, this thing hasn't been named, so that's going to be what I end up going with. I might end up changing that if this thing does get a name in the future, but I don't know. He hasn't been super into dropping a name for absolutely every new design recently. So, yeah, there we go. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe.